Hey everybody, it's Paul Ramsey, and I'm joined today by Linda Donalds, who is presenting at the 2017 NGH convention. Linda's going to be talking about adult ADD and ADHD for hypnotists and clients, success strategies when either you or your client has ADD. Linda, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me. Thanks so much. So, first of all, before we get into your topic area, I like to start always first, just give people a chance to sort of hear your story. Tell us how you got into hypnotism.
Well, let's see. I have been certified 19 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time. It doesn't even really seem that long, but every time I look at the calendar, I'm like 19 years. Wow. But it really started back further than that when I was in high school. My senior year, there was a stage show that the school did, and I have not been able to figure out who the hypnotist was at the stage show, but I was so amazed by what happened in the show, mostly because my two friends that I was sitting next to in the auditorium, and we were way up in the back of the auditorium, became hypnotized just by watching the show. And at some point I stopped watching the show to look at them going, what are you doing? And at that point I knew that it wasn't just something on the stage. And the other thing that happened that day during the show is when the stage hypnotist closed out the show, he talked to all the students. We had a big class of almost 400 students. And he explained how it could be used for study skills and confidence and sports and things like that. And that always stuck with me, but I didn't know where to take it after that. And I headed off to college and moved around different topics to study at college, never finding exactly what I wanted, but I knew I wanted something that was about building confidence and accepting people for who they are. And I couldn't find that in the psychology department, sociology department, linguistics. I mean, I went to all the departments. I ended up in the anthropology department. I have a degree in anthropology.
Wow.
So after I graduated, I did work as an archaeologist for a couple of years, but you don't make much money doing that. So I gave that up, and it was just that actually at my high school, which has an excellent community ed program, somebody was offering a 4-night class on hypnosis, and I signed up for it.
Really?
And, been doing it ever since. So
that's awesome.
I took the classes with her and did some other things for a couple of years, and then I went and got certified. So that was my story.
Well, that's not many people can say archaeologist turned. That's a nice little
archaeology
storyline. That's great. Good for you.
So had they come out with positive psychology or all the studies on emotional intelligence, which actually the college I went to, Rutgers, did a lot with emotional intelligence beginning stages. Who knows where I'd be today, but I didn't discover those things till after I graduated.
So of all the things, and I know we've known each other for years, and I see you at the convention every year, and of all the things, you know how it is, there's all these things to choose from. Of all the things that people present on at the convention each year, why is this topic important to you?
Because in the 19 years that I've been certified, it was only about 4 years ago, I've actually lost track, about 4 years ago that I got diagnosed with ADD. I didn't know that I had it all of these years, and I knew I struggled with a lot of different things, but I would come up with strategies that would get me through. I did really great in school. I got excellent grades and graduated from college with honors, but I knew that I always struggled with something and that it affected how I ran my hypnosis business. It wasn't until I got diagnosed that everything started to fall into place and make a lot of sense. And I stopped beating up on myself for why certain things would be a challenge, and I'd get very upset about it. Once I understood it in the framework of ADD, I was like, oh, like, this isn't that I'm a bad person or that there's something wrong with me. It's just my brain works a certain way. As I learned more about adult ADD, I learned that in hindsight, I didn't realize at the time a lot of my clients had ADD and didn't know it.
Right.
Or some of them had ADD and they would tell me about it, and I knew I could resonate with them a lot. I had really good rapport with them, and I knew that I helped them, but I didn't understand all of that till I got diagnosed. And now it makes a whole lot more sense, and I know what to look for, how to help them. Some things you have to do a little different with somebody who has ADD than you do with somebody who does not. So that's why this topic is so important to me. It was a huge turning point for me when I got diagnosed.
Sure, of course. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you this next question, and I'd like you, if you can, to answer it two different ways, and I think you'll understand why in a second. So you framed this as, in your description here, I'm going to pull it up again so I make sure I read it accurately. So success strategies when either you or your client has ADD. So you've got two angles on the same central topic here. And so my question for you, which if you could, is what's the value of knowing what you're going to share at this workshop for people who are either a hypnotist that has ADD or for people who are non-hypnotists that have ADD? If either way they could go to this and attend it, where's the value that you're bringing content-wise to people and knowledge-wise?
Well, I always feel that because as hypnotists, we also know how to do self-hypnosis. We are our own clients. So when I'm teaching, this will be the third time I've taught this topic. 2 years ago, I did it as a 1 hour. Last year it was a 2 hour, like it'll be this year. So the way that I teach it, it's applicable in so many ways. If you're coming into the workshop because you have ADD, you got that diagnosis from a licensed practitioner, or I get a lot of people that suspect they have it. And I always tell them, if you think you do, go get tested. It makes a difference to know that for certain as to just be wondering. And so the way I'll teach it, it gives information in a format that if you're there for yourself, you'll get a lot out of it. If you're there because you have clients, I mean, a lot of the 2 hour workshop is really how to work with clients. But if you're there for clients and you're not sure how to help them with certain things, then that's covered in there. I get people that come in because they have loved ones, a spouse or a child, and they're looking for answers. So I mean, I kind of cover the gamut because it all fits in. And as far as work, even though I focus more on working with your clients that have ADD, you're going to use the same things with self-hypnosis to help yourself if you're a hypnotist. And there's a lot of challenges that are just similar between clients and yourself. So
Right. Tell me about a learning breakthrough that you had as you were getting into this topic area and you were discovering more and more about how you could use what you know about hypnosis to help people who have ADD or ADHD.
The biggest area is with confidence. Before I knew I had ADD, I used hypnosis a lot for managing confidence, and especially with doing workshops. I mean, when I first got certified and my instructor said, well, the best way to market your business is to go out and teach a workshop. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. Didn't have the confidence for it. So I have used the hypnosis all these years for building confidence and getting to the level where I could teach workshops to the general public. But once I got diagnosed with the ADD, that took a whole new leap of confidence because there were still some things that I didn't get and I wasn't approaching right without knowing that that was going on. It was actually after I got diagnosed that I finally put in a convention proposal for the guild to teach. So
good for you.
But confidence is the big area that I have worked on for myself and that I focus on with clients.
Good. If people want to learn more about you, about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
Call me. I like phone calls. Phone calls are the easiest. They can reach me. My number is 508-246-2721. I have a website, New Horizons and Hypnosis.com, or they can email me at linda@newhorizonsandhypnosis.com.
And for those of you who are interested in learning more about how hypnosis and self-hypnosis can help people with ADD and ADHD, Linda's program is on Saturday, August 12th, and you are in a later time slot.
4 o'clock. I'm in the 2-hour block
yeah,
right before the banquet.
right before the banquet. All right. That's great. Well, this is great. And I used to be a teacher before I got into hypnotism. I was an English teacher. And so I was going through my my pre-service training and my service training back in the 90s. I graduated in 96, and then I worked on my master's, and that feels like a long time ago, but I remember how that was when everyone was just starting to really talk a lot about ADD and ADHD. And really trying to figure out how to make the appropriate adjustments in the classroom for students that had it. And while it had been known about for a while, I think from a teaching perspective, people hadn't really sort of figured out those approaches yet. And I think, gosh, for all these years later, decades later, right, what we could do in the classroom for students today, if we took the kind of stuff that you're talking about, if we took, self-hypnosis techniques to help students self-manage, and suggestions that increase confidence, right? Because that's
my daughter, I didn't mention, my daughter has ADHD.
Yeah.
She's the guy with the big H, the hyperactivity. I don't, but mine was missing because I'm not hyperactive.
Yeah.
But so I've been discovering a lot of things that the school is very open to input around this. Because ADD does not present exactly the same in each person or child, so they're always looking for things. But we've come a long way. It's schools are much more supportive and open, and and we understand what's going on.
I'll tell you though, you know what? Like when I travel and I do shows, I run into a lot of college students who carry a limiting belief about themselves because of their ADD and ADHD. They're used to it being managed and having structures put in place to help them manage it. But I, on a regular basis, have young people come up to me and say, "Can I do hypnosis? Because I have ADD and ADHD." And they don't fully go there verbally, but you can tell what they're really intoning is, I have a limitation, so can I do this? Well,
here's the thing that there's a lot in my workshop about is that, I'm kind of on a mission to educate people what ADD is and ADHD, to the point where, people will be like, I'm going to put a pin on me that says I have ADD and I'm proud of it.
Good for you.
It has some qualities about it that it's not like all the other diagnoses in the DSM. There are qualities about ADD that if you know how to harness them, you actually have an edge over other people.
Right.
And like you said, people have been brought up with this idea that there's a limiting, something limiting them, and it's not true. You just need to kind of harness it in a different way, and then you can really excel. So that's a lot where the confidence comes in, to realize that actually your ADD can be kind of a gift when you look at it the right way, and you can be kind of like, I'm glad I have ADD. I don't want anybody to tell me you don't have it. I'm like, no, this gives me strength and power. So, and we got to change all the kids that went through school systems with a whole different paradigm around it, and even today it's still in that phase of shifting. So
I have a client who's 49, and so he grew up in elementary school, before the awareness began, and it just destroyed his schooling experience. And he was fortunate enough to somehow develop resiliency in other ways, and without having any kind of help officially, he sort of figured out how to harness it in some ways and made millions of dollars, using the certain skill sets. But then because he never had any help, he also had other ways in his personal life that it really gave him trouble, and then finally in his 40s, he started, going for counseling and coaching and hypnotism, and, really actively working on how to discern between the two, and is just doing fantastically now. Fantastic.
there's lots of examples of people like this man you're talking about who, once they figure out some strategies, can be very successful
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs. A
Yeah.
lot of the famous people that we think of as big entrepreneurs and made a lot of money, they have ADD, and the reason they got successful as they did was because of some of the characteristics of the ADD.
Yep.
So,
Totally.
yeah, once we look at who we can model ourselves after,
Right.
that really helps a lot.
Yeah.
That NLP modeling is
So cool. So
and
cool.
yeah.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, I hope this has given you something to think about. I hope that even if you don't have ADD or ADHD, you certainly, I would hope, see the value in knowing this and how you can help other people. And if you do have ADD or ADHD, you certainly understand the value in learning these kinds of techniques and how these skill sets that Linda's talking about can enrich your life. So check it out. Follow up with Linda if you are not coming to the convention. If you are coming to the convention, Saturday, August 12th in the 4 o'clock slot. All right, Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
All right, you have a great day.
You too.